So the best piece of advice that actually my dad gave me was, he used to always tell me, don't push the river. It flows by itself, man. Just go with it. When I went into film school, I think I wanted to direct, like everybody that goes into film school, or probably most people. And then you eventually find your place, I think, and I just gravitated towards the camera, and that's where I felt most at ease, I guess. So by the time I finished film school, I was already shooting things and doing second unit work, and so I started working pretty early on. Then there was like a big economic crisis. A lot of the DPs in Mexico left, and that opened up the doorway to my generation to start DPing at a very young age. And I worked for a few years doing that and kind of burned out after a while. And I decided I needed a break, so I had started practicing yoga in Mexico, and I was really fascinated by it. And I decided to go to India for a few months and really, go in depth. When I went back to Mexico, I bumped into my friend Fernando, who's a really good friend from film school, and he had a script that he'd been developing for a few years, and I think combined with yoga and then the circumstances we had that would allow us to do this film, which we didn't have much money for, kind of forced me to become from a cinematographer that was more based on control and trying to really do things the way I saw them in my mind and trying to recreate them exactly, to just become a more flexible an open cinematographer and just kind of accept the world and kind of roll with it rather than try to control our circumstances. And I think yoga had a lot to do with that. It just taught me a lot about flexibility and about adapting and making the process a bit more of a dialogue rather than a monologue. You have an idea, you have a lighting set up in your mind, and you want to recreate it, and you want things to look exactly like you visualize them, versus this new approach with less money, less lights, more available light, and just kind of rolling with it, and not really fighting to make things look the way you want them, but kind of find a compromise between reality and your vision.